Hola viewers, Eric the Car Guy, also known as ETCG1 on this channel. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday. In stereo at that. Brian and I are here today to talk about, well, at this point, you're probably seeing the videos during the Engine series when we went up to Wapakoneta, Ohio. And I sat down with Brian, I said, why don't we make an ETCG1 video to talk about those days we spent up there, because we spent, what was it, 2 days? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 2 days in the machine shop. And just sort of reminisce a little bit, because the videos that you're seeing are about 3 months behind the actual build. As you can see, the engine is in the car and, well, it's test fitted. We still got a long ways to go, but anyway, it's farther ahead than what you've seen at this point. So you're working your way through the Engine series. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about that experience, which I thought was a good experience.
I do.
What was like the thing that sticks out in your mind about Wapakoneta itself, the town itself? What did you like?
I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, so, and I have a lot of family that lives in small towns in Wisconsin, and it sort of reminded me of that. A town square, a couple of bars, a couple of hometown restaurants. That's about it.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to it.
You know, and maybe a couple of chain restaurants that we tried to avoid.
And I'm glad we did, because what was the name of the place we found?
No
like
idea.
Tina's or something like that. It's
I
downtown.
think it might have been Tina's.
Yeah, it was something. It was like some girl's name, I think it was.
The name of the restaurant is J. Marie's.
Somebody from, or some restaurateur from Columbus took their talents and opened up in Wapakoneta for.
Right. And I mean, pizza ovens. They had like actual like stone pizza ovens that they put in the back of the place. So
good malted beverages.
Good malted beverages. I think they had Buffalo Trace, was it?
Well, that would be a bourbon. I was thinking my malt. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're talking
carbonated malted adult beverages.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Sorry.
They had those too.
Yeah,
and
I got it confused.
And your brown.
My brown
fluids.
liquors. Yes. My brown fluids.
Non-carbonated brown fluids.
Non-carbonated brown fluids. The food was actually fantastic.
It's great.
I mean, because we saw that whole strip. There was like this strip of restaurants and things by the highway that were all like chain oriented for the most part.
That's a rule I've learned many years ago, driving. I'm gonna guess this might sound weird. I pretty much believe I've driven over 1 million miles.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And so, but
Brian is well traveled.
But yeah, I've driven a lot. And if you stay close to the highway, you're just, if you've got a minute, go a little bit off the beaten path, and you'll find places like we did, and just cute, you know, very well kept neighborhoods and houses, and you know, old school.
Wasn't run down. And you know, so not only did we have a really good meal at the restaurant, but they also cued us into the really good bar that was down the street.
Right.
That I can't remember. Like this bar had,
we're so lame. We have no names of these places whatsoever.
But it's not like it's hard to find stuff in Wapakoneta. There's like 4 things in the road downtown. But the name of that bar, the Anchor, something. I almost think it was Nautical.
The name of the bar? Alpha Cafe.
Anyway, they had a bar that was made in like 18 something, and it was by the Brunswick Company in Cincinnati. I remember all these other weird details for some reason, but not the name of the place. Anyway,
super old bar, yeah.
Yeah, super old bar. It's old wood, all hand carved, all just like you could just sit there and just look at this piece of art that they called a bar, and it was amazing. Interesting story. It used to be across the street. And we got a chance to talk to the bartender for a little bit. It used to be across the street, then they moved. And it was something in the 1950s or something like that. And it wasn't just a bar, it was also sort of a diner-ish kind of place.
Half diner, yeah.
Yeah.
Half lunch counter diner, you know, your $3.95 plate lunch specials, and then the other half was this really cool bar. So sweet.
Well, in the midst of this really cool town is the Mecca, which we do remember the name of, which is Kalvinator Engines.
Yeah.
And we spent the 2 days there with both Kevin and Justin, his son Justin. Kevin was a former instructor at UNOH, which is sort of a performance oriented school. So if you wanted to go for racing or something like that, UNOH would be one of those places that you would go. Not that far away from Wapakoneta. I think it was like another 10 minutes up the road.
It was the next exit north or something.
Something like that. But anyway, the guy, Yoda, I was just so amazed. I mean, what were your first impressions when it's a small little building, it's like out in the middle of a cornfield basically, and you look at it and you're like, really? But once you get inside, you know it's all business and all the machine stuff. So what was your first impression when you walked in?
I've been to, again, spending a lot of time in the farmlands up in Wisconsin. It reminded me of an old tractor repair shop almost.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm like, okay, but then it's just all engine blocks. You kind of walk through and you just see engine block after engine block, and all engines in various stages of, I guess refurb, production, whatever you want to call it. And then you met Kevin and just talked to him for like a minute or two, and you just knew. And the fact that they do a lot of racing engines for local dirt tracks and asphalt and dirt circle tracks in the area regionally, maybe even nationally. Not quite, but
well, either way,
people come a long way.
Yeah, people come a long way to go to this place, and a lot of them are involved in racing. So I mean, this guy builds racing engines.
Yeah.
And I had to look high and low to find a machine shop. You know, I looked in Cincinnati, and there aren't many machine shops left, and the ones that are left have figured it out, and they're really busy. So it was really hard to find somebody that was available, knowledgeable, and had the access to the facilities and equipment that I wanted. I wanted a dyno. I wanted to be able to test the power output of the engine when everything was all said and done, which we ended up doing at UNOH, and there will be a video on that at some point. Kevin is just, he is Master Yoda, without a doubt. I mean, he just has so much stuff in his head, it's like it doesn't all come to the surface right away.
Well, it would overwhelm you.
Yeah.
It would fill the room and flood out the windows. It was just, and then just watching him and seeing and it's a lot like you have this, as I've noticed over the years, this process, and it's ingrained and you stick to it, but that level of expertise, when you're talking, micron thing can make a difference. I know my techno speak isn't very good, but it comes down to microns at points in time.
Absolutely.
And he's like, I've done it.
I got this.
But he's also made the mistakes too.
Oh yeah.
And that's the hardest and best lesson. So, he's not going to do a few things again ever. But yeah, it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely felt like you were in the presence of somebody who really knew what they were doing. And the impression that I got when I walked in was, well, first of all, I'd sent the engine and everything up ahead of time. So after talking to Kevin says, I got friends at World Products. We'll see if we can get you this man of war block and go here. And here's something else I should note. I mean, they do mostly Chevrolet stuff, mostly small block Chevys or Chevrolet type of things. So he was a bit outside of his comfort zone doing my Ford engine. Happy to do it just to have something different to do, and certainly capable. But yeah, I mean, I was throwing something at him that was completely unique and different. Turbo build on top of that. So I mean, you could just tell that he was like into it. He was really into what we were doing, because I was like, well, all right, I'm just going to open up my checkbook and make the coolest engine we possibly can, and I'm going to defer to your expertise. He was very happy about that. In fact, when I walked in,
You opening your checkbook?
Yeah. I wasn't so happy about that part. But,
he was.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, it was just, I knew I was in the right hands. I knew that he wasn't going to steer me wrong, and that was really great. How did I had already gotten in my intake manifold and my cylinder heads and all the other stuff before we actually got up there. In fact, he already had those parts, and he was already machining on the intake.
Yeah, you drove him up there.
Did I? I drove it up ahead of time, and then we went up for the shoot. So yeah, I drove up ahead of time, I dropped everything off, and then when I came back the second time to do the shooting, he had already started on it. And I knew we were going to be into it, because we weren't able to stay there long. If we were there 2 days straight.
2 nights, we went up the night because we had an early start the next morning.
Right.
So at least we had it wasn't like really, really hectic. It was hectic, but not crazy. Yeah. Driving up there in the morning, shooting for 10, 11 hours, and that's a long day.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, we're about a 3-hour drive from where we are here to Wapakoneta. So I'm just north of Cincinnati, and that's about how long it takes to drive up 75 to get there. So it's a bit outside of Dayton, almost to Toledo, I think it is.
Next.
It's pretty close up that way. But anyhow, I mean, it was just, we just didn't have enough time. I wish we would have had 3 days to get the entire build covered, but we got a lot of great videos there. I mean, so many good videos.
Yeah, I thought so. Just really interesting side stories, the boring and okay, I'm in over my head here. But we figured out the volume of the.
Oh yeah, combustion chamber volume.
That.
Combustion chamber volume.
Mr. Wizard with this thing. And
yeah. It was
Kevin
really
was
super
great.
science. Super sciencey on that one.
Drilling holes in that giant cam and trying to get that balanced.
I know,
out.
that was the crankshaft.
Sorry.
Balancing the crankshaft was murder. It took him, I think it was like 3 hours almost.
Yeah.
Reason being, the lighter your rotating assembly is, which having a light rotating assembly means it's going to rev quicker and all that kind of stuff, which is really great, but it is a bear to balance. I mean, my crankshaft in this engine behind me looks like Swiss cheese. And I'm okay with it because I know it's balanced. I saw it on the machine. I mean, he had it balanced within microns, if you will.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see that process. That was the first time, this was my first time to actually live in a machine shop. So I knew of all these processes that people go through in order to, machine things like the porting, the polishing, the boring, all of this stuff. But I was never up close and personal with the machinery. I personally loved it. To me, I was in Santa's workshop and I did not want to leave. I would have stayed there forever and ever. And Brian would have too. I mean, we talked about in the past how you got into sandblasting.
I was going to say, as long as I could just become a master sandblast guy, I would probably could.
I loved all the machinery there. You could just make something out of hunks of metal. You could just take hunks of metal and just make beautiful machines in this place.
And
all this stuff was like old school stuff. I mean, it was like all 1940s machinery and equipment. It wasn't like super modern or anything. It was just well used, well worn, well looked after,
well maintained. Yeah.
And it all worked. And that was part of the charm of it. And we can't forget about Justin.
How can we?
Yeah, we can't forget about Justin. Justin is Kevin's son, who works in the machine shop and does just as much stuff. I mean, I think, what did they say? Like, Kevin does a lot of the heavy machining and Justin does a lot of the assembly, is how it was?
Justin does a lot of the grunt work.
Yeah, he does. He's the kid.
Because he's young, and
kid.
Honestly, I can't remember how, not terribly long. He did other things before. He wasn't like doing it at 6 years old, you know, working a lathe or whatever.
He sort of grew into it. It wasn't like he aspired to work in the shop with Dad so much. It's just something that he ended up doing. And
then he found out, basically, I'm really dumb if I don't take advantage of this master who happens to be my father, who happens to have this pretty sweet machine shop. So Justin wised up, and he's very talented as well.
Oh yeah, Justin.
And a goofball, greatest smile, funniest.
Justin, how are you? I'm good. And what do you do here? You don't just sweep the floors.
I do things that he doesn't want to do.
Exactly. That, I think, was the best part of being there. I mean, you'll see in the videos, we were just having a good time. We had a blast at this place. I mean, I think that has to be like my favorite shoot this year.
Yeah, seeing you as giddy as as you were, was great, and me just sort of, again, absorbing amazing things, amazing talent, and just this amazing knowledge. It was,
and we were outside of this shop. So we were a little outside of our element, but we weren't halfway across the country in Vegas doing something like that. I mean, it seemed...
It was like a Heart of America, a Slice of Americana thing, but not here. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, just to get a break.
It did feel a lot like we went back in time. It felt like we went back in time, not only with the town, but also with the machine shop and doing this stuff. It was like I transported back 40-some years to the 1960s. And I was at the coolest machine shop, drag shop, whatever that could be, a race shop, and everything was happening and everything was coming together. That was absolutely one of my favorite shoots. And we went up there, what was it, March or April? I think it was April. March, April, somewhere in there. Springtime. So everything was in bloom. It was all just wonderful. We opened the windows. I remember that. We opened the windows to the place and let the air flow through.
Yes.
Which was kind of necessary because it kind of gets a little stuffy in there.
Yeah, it was overall a great experience, I thought. Again, always a shooting challenge to deal with in another environment, but we usually overcome those, and it was great.
Yeah, because one of the challenges is we use wireless mics. In fact, we're using 2 of them now. But on that shoot, we had 3 of them going all the time. So I have a separate mixer and bag that we have all the wireless microphones hooked into, and then that goes into the camera from there. So Brian has extra gear that he's lugging around.
And I'm listening to 3 people in my head talking at certain times and trying to sort that out. And I'm used. It's okay. It's like, shut your mic off. You know.
Well, yeah, because sometimes the phone would ring. Kevin would go over and have to answer the phone, and
Right.
Justin and I would still be working, so we wouldn't want to hear him, so we'd have to like go over and mute his mic.
Sort of easedropping too. That's
Yeah,
weird.
a little bit. Well, you were. So yeah, it did have some challenges as far as that went, but I think the shoot went off really well. I think we got great videos. I know a lot of people were excited about the whole engine build. They're really focused on the engine part of the car. Me, I'm focused on the car as a whole, but you know, hey, it's not about me. It's about you and what you want to watch. So. Going to bring you those engine videos. And I'll tell you this, it will not be the last time I visit Wapakoneta, that's for sure. Definitely going back, definitely got more stuff to build and do. Definitely want to see, you know, if I can try my hand maybe at a little more of that machining and maybe do some of the stuff, learn how to do some of the stuff myself, which would be way cool.
Yeah.
I think they'd let me.
I think so.
Yeah.
Save some money? I don't know.
Well, not just that. I mean, well, you know, I was just like, I actually felt like this before we left. I was like, can I stay here and work? I want a job here. I really wanted a job there just to work for the summer so I could learn all that stuff. Because I love this side of things. I've talked about in other videos before how I'm really getting into the whole build thing. Well, a machine shop, heaven. Santa's workshop, without a doubt. Anything else?
Trying to think. No.
Oh, the Best Western where we stayed. I was guest of the day. My whole experience there was great. I walk into the place and my name is like on the desk and it says guest of the day, Eric Cook, and I'm like, what? I just walked in the door and
He wasn't an Eric the Car Guy thing. I didn't know you from Adam. And it was just Eric Cook. I was like,
they randomly choose people every day. Randomly choose a guest and they make them the guest of the day. And I got a cookie. What was it? I got a cookie and something else.
And
a couple of other trinkets, but the cookie is what I focused on. The cookie was good.
It was an all-around wonderful
What a way to kick it off, though. It's like, you know, hello, Mr. Cook. Here's a cookie. Have fun at the machine shop.
It's going to be the greatest 2 days of your life.
Wasn't it? Loved it. Anyway, I hope you really enjoy the engine series. I really enjoyed making it. I think Brian enjoyed being there also and doing the shoot. But I hope you've enjoyed this behind the scenes. So as you watch those videos, know that we were having a blast doing all of that work. Anyway, automotive questions, ericthecarguy.com. Link down in the description. I'll also link other important stuff down there. So if you got questions, go to the description. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you wish to connect with me socially, I post ETCG1 videos on Mondays. So stop back and see me then for those.
What are you doing on Fridays?
What do I do on Fridays? Oh, those are the repair videos for Eric the Car Guy. That other hat. The other hat guy.
We don't talk about that here?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's like Fight Club.
Oh, we don't talk about it. First rule.
First rule of Eric the Car Guy. You don't talk about Eric the Car Guy in ETCG1. No, we're not. It is a little weird. This whole dual channel alter ego kind of thing. But anyway. So yeah, Fridays repairs over there and all kinds of stuff throughout the week to entertain you in some way, shape, or form. So just keep watching me, please.
That's what we're here for.
Be safe.
Have fun.
Stay dirty. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.